bringing news from a different page. Truth served hot and bold and strong. Every week we sing along. Red, white, and true will stand tall. Echo the call loudest of all. With hearts of faith and liberty, together we find unity. Stories that make you think and pray. A light awaits at the end of day. Guided by the stars and stripes, through the stormiest of nights. Red, white, and true will stand tall. Echo the call loudest of all. With hearts of faith and liberty, together we find unity. When the world feels like a fight, hold your ground, stand for what's right. In the truth we'll find our way. Ed and Ronnie light the way. Red, white, and true will stand tall. Echo the call loudest of all. With hearts of faith and liberty, together we find unity. Red, white, and true will stand tall. Echo the call loudest of all. With hearts of faith and liberty, together we find unity. Together we find unity.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Red, White, and True with Ed and Ronnie, and the show starts right now.
Hey, it is
Hello.
Wednesday. It is Wednesday.
It is Wednesday.
Well, we maybe should flash back 24 hours and say that neither one of us was here.
Nope.
We had some technical issues last night. Ronnie had some medical issues. He's feeling a little bit better today. You look like you got a little bit of color in your face. You don't look like the abominable snowman or anything like that.
Yeah.
Hopefully the technical problems won't be with us tonight. And I still have no clue. It did it Sunday night when I was at the end of my sermon. And then it did it last night. It couldn't get it to come on for the life of me. And well, we're here tonight, though, and we're looking to have a good time. We're looking to talk about probably some pretty heavy subjects, you know, not like as in we're going to do any weightlifting or anything. We're just going to have some things that some people might like and some people might not like. But I've got something I want to start out with. You've got your liberal Looney Tunes that we'll have later on tonight. You know, we'll kind of
Yes,
do that about halfway through to kind of break things up just a little bit. But
that works.
actually, we both had this, and let me get this to where I'm ready. All right, I have to share my screen. There we go. And let's kick this off with a little bit of fun.
And Donald Trump did a record-breaking interview on X this week. It was heard by hundreds of millions of people. The corporate dinosaur media down bad. And in order to rub some salt in the wound, Donald Trump just posted this video.
Well, you can tell by the way I use my walk. I'm a woman's man, no time for music loud. Women want me kicked around since I was born. Never tolerate, I don't hate. You may look the other way, but we can try to understand. New York Times, no man. Staying alive, staying alive. In the city, breaking and everybody shaking, staying alive, staying alive. Staying alive, staying alive. Dear God, it's beautiful.
But this story for sure, Texas teenager shared.
They got some moves, don't they?
Well, more ways than one. More
Yeah.
ways than one. I got to thinking while that was about halfway through, we'll probably get a copyright infringement on that little segment. I get them for things that I got it not too long ago for a song that was in the public domain, you know, like old hymns that nobody has a copyright or anything like that with. And
like Happy Birthday or something.
yeah, well, you know, some of the really, really old songs that have never been bought up by
Yeah.
whoever buys old songs up. And I got a copyright infringement. So had one not too long ago from a female that does a really good job. We've gotten permission from her promoters and everything, and got a copyright infringement on that too. So I'm pretty sure that something the magnitude of the Bee Gees will probably get it. And well,
Probably. Oh, well.
it was worth it so that the people could see it live.
It's all in fun.
It is all in fun, and we look at things that happen, and I don't know. I think that it's very possible that the problems technology-wise in the last few days has been a satanic attack. I mean, it being that it kicked me totally off Sunday night until I was getting ready to give the invitation for people to give their life to Christ. Then last night, we could have split what we've got tonight into 2 nights, and we could have even added more tonight. And I just don't think Satan wants us getting good news out to people. And
Guess not.
but here's the way I look at that: get behind me, Satan, in the name of Jesus. If you're talking to Satan, you better always put the name of Jesus or the Holy Spirit somewhere in there, because fighting Satan alone is a losing battle, but fighting Satan with God through Jesus Christ and the Holy Spirit, then that's a winning combination right there.
Well, and obviously you're doing something right if we're getting attacked. You know, I mean, if we weren't doing the right thing, then he'd just go ahead and let us. But we went out there and did the right thing.
We did. Well, speaking of the right thing, we're catching some people's attention. Okay. Now, don't think that Elon Musk really did that, okay? I mean, I
He
can.
might
Can you
have.
picture? Can you picture a liberal saying, "Look at those two. They really think that we believe that Elon Musk's hold up a sign." Hey, not saying he did, but
Yeah, he might have. Oh,
I mean, somebody might send this to him, and they might go and have him do that.
yeah.
He's a little on the busy side right now, though.
I would
I mean-
say so. I highly doubt he watches our little show, but if he did, hello, send me to Mars.
Yeah, I was going to say he's busy sending rocket ships up, saving the country billions of dollars and all the different things. But we kind of want to get started tonight with a speech that J.D. Vance, the vice president, gave last week. Quite interesting. And, if it wasn't good enough that the Trump administration makes heads spin here in the United States, then J.D. Vance went to Germany and had some heads spin over there. Take it, Ronnie.
Well, I've got 3 videos and kind of a little breakdown. The biggest part, biggest take away from J.D. Vance's speech is he brought up the fact that the freedom of speech, the right to free speech, is under attack, especially in Europe. He also brought up immigration, stuff like that. I'm going to go ahead and play one of these videos here and just kind of give you a little snippet of what he talked about.
Most concerningly, I look to our very dear friends, the United Kingdom, where the backslide away from conscience rights has placed the basic liberties of religious Britons in particular in the crosshairs. A little over 2 years ago, the British government charged Adam Smith Connor, a 51-year-old physiotherapist and an Army veteran, with the heinous crime of standing 50 meters from an abortion clinic and silently praying for 3 minutes. Not obstructing anyone, not interacting with anyone, just silently praying on his own. And after British law enforcement spotted him and demanded to know what he was praying for, Adam replied simply, it was on behalf of the unborn son he and his former girlfriend had aborted years before. Now, the officers were not moved. Adam was found guilty of breaking the government's new buffer zones law, which criminalizes silent prayer and other actions that could influence a person's decision within 200 meters of an abortion facility. He was sentenced to pay thousands of pounds in legal costs to the prosecution. Now, I wish I could say that this was a fluke, a one-off crazy example of a badly written law being enacted against a single person. But no, this last October, just a few months ago, the Scottish government began distributing letters to citizens whose houses lay within so-called safe access zones, warning them that even private prayer within their own homes may amount to breaking the law. Naturally, the government urged readers to report any fellow citizen suspected guilty of thought crime. In Britain and across Europe, free speech, I fear, is in retreat.
So right there, free speech is in retreat. And when I saw that video, I was appalled. Just because this man was praying nearby an abortion facility, that they're going so far to eliminate prayer in individuals' private homes. What is this world coming to? I've got some other information here. Key themes from a conservative perspective. Number one was the defense of Christian liberty as central to Western identity. J.D. Vance explicitly highlighted cases where Christians in Europe face legal prosecution for exercising their faith, and framing this as a betrayal of the West Judeo-Christian roots. The standout was the abortion clinic, and that was in Bournemouth, England. He also cited a Swedish case where a Christian activist was convicted for participating in Quran burnings, an act that conservatives might defend as free expression rooted in religious critique. Even if controversial, Vance quoted the judge's ruling that Sweden's free speech laws don't protect actions that offend certain groups. which is he framed as evidence of Europe prioritizing political correctness over Christian principles of truth and liberty. Now, here in the United States, you can burn the Quran. They burn the American flag. Liberals burn the American flag on the regular. Conservatives would applaud Vance for exposing what they see as a double standard. Europe claims to uphold freedom, but suppresses Christians who challenge secular orthodoxies like abortion or multiculturalism. This resonates with the conservative belief that Christianity is under siege by progressive ideologies. And Vance's speech positions him as a defender of the faithful against an overreaching, godless bureaucracy. Number two, critique of secular elites and their Soviet-style tactics. Vance accused European leaders of adopting an ugly Soviet-era words like misinformation and disinformation to silence dissent, a charge that conservatives would view as a spot-on indictment of the left's authoritarian tendencies. He linked this suppression to a broader retreat from democratic values, arguing that elites are running in fear from their voters' true beliefs. Number three, he said, pointed out Christianity as the antidote to Europe's moral decline. Vance's speech carried an implicit message that Europe's drift from Christianity has led to its current crises, however you say that, uncontrolled mitigation, cultural fragmentation, and the stifling of free expression. Very obviously. His assertion that you cannot win a democratic mandate by censoring your opponents or putting them in jail, whether it's the leader of the opposition, a humble Christian praying in her own home, or a journalist trying to report the news. His point right there, you cannot win a democratic mandate by censoring your opponents or putting them in jail. What do you think the left has been doing to Donald Trump for the last year and a half? Trying to put him in jail. Number four, a call to arms for conservative populism. Vance's meeting with Alice Weidel, leader of Germany's far-right alternative Für Deutschland, AfD. I took 4 years of German in high school. And his suggestion that mainstream parties should work with such groups underscores his support for populist movements that conservatives view as modern defenders of Christian values. He criticized Germany's firewall against the AfD, arguing it excludes legitimate voter concerns about immigration and free speech. Can't you see that happening here? From a conservative angle, Vance's speech was a masterstroke of ideology warfare, taking the fight to Europe's elite and prestigious venue like Munich. His declaration that there's a new sheriff in town under Donald Trump's leadership signals that the U.S. will back nations and movements that uphold Christian values. Bravo. It's about time.
Bravo.
So
Absolutely.
here's a little bit of reception and implications from the conservative viewpoint. Praise from the right. Conservatives likely view Vance's speech as brilliant, a term Donald Trump used himself, and I have a video about that here in a moment, because it fearlessly confronts Europe's moral and political decay. Post on X from accounts like America First Con hailed it as a critique of anti-democratic policies targeting pro-life Christians and Soviet methods of political persecution. European backlash is a proof of the point. The stunned silence and subsequent rebukes from European leaders like German Chancellor Olaf Scholz and EU Foreign Policy Chief Kaja Kallas only reinforce, I'm pretty sure I slaughtered that name and I apologize, only reinforce the conservative narrative that Europe's elite are out of touch and hostile to Christian values. Scholz's defense of hate speech laws and rejection of Vance's AfD endorsement would be dismissed by conservatives as further evidence of a continent willing to face its own failings. And a vision for the West. For conservatives, Vance's emphasis on Christianity isn't just rhetoric, it's a roadmap. His earlier remarks, January 2025 interview about prioritizing God first, family second, community third, country fourth, and then foreign countries fifth, echoed in X posts like Jerry Lee 12's find political expression here. He's telling Europe that abandoning his Ordo Amoris, order of love, has led to its current state, and only a return to it can save the West. Now here's a video of, like I said, Donald Trump's reaction to his speech.
Vice President Vance's speech to the conference has ruffled quite a few feathers in Europe.
What did he say to ruffle them? I don't know.
He was talking about the freedom of speech and migration in Europe. Do you believe that European leaders have a fundamentally different view of the world than this administration?
Well, I heard his speech, and I tell you, you're talking about JD's speech, right?
Yes, sir.
I heard his speech, and he talked about freedom of speech, and I think it's true in Europe. It's losing. They're losing their wonderful right of freedom of speech. I see it. I mean, I thought he made a very good speech, actually, a very brilliant speech. Yeah. Europe has to be careful. And he talked about immigration. And Europe has a big immigration problem. Just take a look at what's happened with crime. Take a look at what's happening in various parts of Europe. I thought his speech was very well received, actually. I've heard very good remarks.
And if you haven't seen J.D. Vance's speech, I suggest everyone take a peek at it. J.D. Vance is same age as I am. He's a very smart man, very articulate, and it's a very good speech. And it ruffled feathers, just like maybe he should have. So here's another video about Europe's reaction.
Why did J.D. Vance's speech in Munich spark such a heated debate in Germany? His remarks have stirred the political landscape, causing ripples across the nation. Vance met with far-right leader Alice Weidel, a controversial figure in German politics, just before Germany's federal election. This timing added fuel to the fire, raising questions about his intentions. At the Munich Security Conference, he criticized Germany's firewall against extremist parties, calling it a restriction on free speech. His comments were seen as a direct challenge to German policies. German officials hit back hard, defending their measures as necessary to protect democracy, with Chancellor Scholz defending their stance, emphasizing the importance of maintaining stability and order. Now the debate rages on. The clash of ideologies has sparked a broader conversation about freedom and security in Germany.
So like I said, I'm going to wrap this up because we've got so much to get to. I just touched on, just scratched the surface. If you get a chance, check it out. It was a very great speech. So, and I applaud him for that.
So you hit with the vice president and the speech. You hit with the president giving his backing. I got a short clip here of Marco Rubio and an exchange he had on a CBS program.
This is maybe the craziest thing a mainstream, air quotes, media person has said on the air in eons. Check this out.
Well, he was standing in a country where free speech was weaponized to conduct a genocide. And he met with the head of a political party that has far-right views and some historic ties to extreme groups. The context of that was changing the tone of it. And you know that the censorship was specifically about the right.
No, I have to disagree with you. Free speech was not used to conduct a genocide. The genocide was conducted by an authoritarian Nazi regime that happened to also be genocidal because they hated Jews and they hated minorities and they hated those that they had a list of people they hated, but primarily the Jews. There was no free speech in Nazi Germany. There was none. There was also no opposition in Nazi Germany. They were sole and only.
You know, I'm sorry we cut that off because Michael brought up such a good point. But you know what? How do you even answer that? I really do applaud Secretary Rubio for attempting to talk sense into what is such an insane thing to say that he must have been there. He must have been sitting there in a chair, because when you're doing these hits, sometimes you're alone in these studios. There's no one around. And he must be looking around at someone else like, did I hear that correctly?
And we talked earlier about loving Dan Bongino, but
yes,
how many times just you and I, or even on here or with other people, said, how in the world do you reply to some things that are said? We they always want to try to call us Nazis.
Yeah.
And we ain't never going to let them get by with that. We're nothing like Nazis. And Liberalism 101 says that you accuse your opponent of things that you're guilty of. And I have a hard time not bringing up that conservative Christian and the Nazis are not even close to the same. I have a friend, and I know that's surprising that I have a friend, but I have a friend who I love, and at one point we were pretty close. He had moved away, and he's a pastor, very, very good pastor. But all of a sudden, he has decided that he is a liberal pastor, and he used the word Christian nationalism. And let me tell you, and I've said this before, anytime you hear those two words together, Christian nationalist or Christian nationalism, that is a liberal term that is designed to make Christians look bad and to throw people off of it with a distraction. So
I actually had a video, and I really wished I could have played it. When you were talking about how everybody, that anybody who disagrees with you, you're immediately a fascist, or you're a racist, or you're a Nazi, or you're a bigot. And it was Jon Stewart, and he does the Daily Show on Comedy Central. The video was very well said. He is an extreme liberal, but he brought up an amazing point, and the video is so full of curse words, I couldn't have bleeped it enough. But he said something about a guy in an audience had asked him, why don't you call these people fascists, or why don't you call these people racist? Why don't you call them out for it? And Jon Stewart says, look, when you call anybody and everybody who disagrees with you a fascist or a racist or a bigot or a Nazi, you run out of those bullets. And then when you get to a point where you actually do face a racist, you've already ran out of your racist calling bullets long ago, because everything's a racist and everything's a Nazi and everything's. So he was bringing up the point, I'm not going to go around calling everybody a racist, a bigot, or a Nazi, because that's wasting ammunition. And I had to applaud him for it. He actually made a very good point.
I've been another one of those confusing things in life. A couple of people, Stewart and a couple of other people that are very, very, very extreme liberals that have almost sounded like conservatives for a little while. And, I'm thinking, well, they need to hear that, they being liberals, but boy, I sure ain't dropping no, I'm keeping them fists up, when he punches, I'm going to block.
Yeah.
Got to a story here. One of the originators of conservative talk, he was obviously on the radio for most of his career, but 4 years ago, a couple days back, 4 years ago, Rush Limbaugh passed away, and social media posts from figures like Bo Snerdley, who is his one of his partners in crime on the air, and Charlie Kirk, highlighted Rush's enduring influence on conservative politics and media, while also sharing moments like when President Trump awarded him with the Presidential Medal of Freedom. And while celebrated for promoting conservative ideologies, Rush's legacy also includes significant controversy due to his provocative broadcasting style. It kind of reminds me of that last sentence there, the provocative broadcasting style of the way Donald Trump is a provocative person. A lot of times people don't get mad at, well, okay, it's both. They get mad at what he says, but also the way he says it. I mean, we all know that Trump could give us a $5,000 rebate check and people would gripe about it, especially the liberals. Yeah. Oh, wait. Oh, yeah. You mentioned that earlier. Yes. We're going to get to Doge. Is that how you say it? Doge?
Doge, yeah.
I mean, it just looked like it ought to be something. It ought to come out different. But we're going to get into we're going to get into some Doge here. And they accused the Haitians of that, didn't they?
Yes. They're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats.
Well, let's go with some Doge information.
Well, actually, I've got a story that I wanted to share real quick, and it's going to make your blood boil. It's about a minute and a half here. So,
one of the disgraced nurses who threatened to kill Israeli patients has been rushed to hospital overnight with mental health concerns. The news of pediatric nurse Ahmad Rashad Nadir's hospitalization on Thursday night comes as Israeli social media influencer Max Weifer released his full unedited interview with Nadir and colleague Sarah Abulabdeh. New South Wales Police confirmed emergency services were called to Nadir's Bankstown home shortly before 9 p.m. on Thursday night, following reports of a concern for welfare. He was taken to hospital for further assessment. Both Nadir and Abulabdeh were deregistered from practicing anywhere in Australia by the Nursing and Midwifery Council of New South Wales on Thursday and are waiting to hear if they will face criminal charges.
They have a free right to say whatever they want, you know?
Is it wrong to say that?
I stand with them.
Bankstown locals in Sydney Southwest were quizzed over the rant on Thursday, with one man arguing their comment should be protected under free speech. Freedom of speech is not explicitly mentioned in the Australian Constitution. However, Australia has signed the UN International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights. That document states the right to expression should be protected, provided that there is consideration given to the rights and reputations of others. To that effect, the Commonwealth and all states except WA have criminalised hate speech where there is a threat of violence or damage to property.
And my apologies. I thought that video explained what they did, but in the interview, the Israeli guy was talking to this doctor and this nurse. I don't know if they're married or what, but the Israeli said, what would happen if an Israeli came in and came into their hospital and the female interrupted and pushed into the view and said that she'd kill him. And he said, you'd kill them? And she said, yeah, I would kill them. And he says, so saying God forbid, and she interrupts him and she says, no, not God forbid. And the man who's a doctor in this hospital said that look at his records. There's been many, many, many before that have come into his hospital, and he does this, and sent them to Germanum, I'm guessing, which is the Muslim version of hell. So yeah, he's killed people just because of their religion.
Well, we didn't plan this in any way. Actually, I didn't know you had that. You don't know I have this, but boy, they fit together very well. Let me share my screen here.
Release the remaining Israeli hostages from Gaza that it agreed to hand over as part of the first phase of the ceasefire deal. Mark Lowen with our partners at BBC has more from Jerusalem.
Well, Hamas have now confirmed that there will be 4 dead bodies of the hostages who will be released on Thursday to Israel. Now, that is the first time that the dead Israeli hostages are being released to Israel since the ceasefire deal came into place. And that will happen on Thursday. And then 6 living hostages are to be released on Saturday. That is twice the number originally planned in the weekly releases. And then a further 4 dead bodies will be handed over next week. Now, amongst the 4 dead hostages to be released this Thursday, Hamas says will be the Bibas family. Shiri and Yarden Bibas were seized on the 7th of October in those attacks by Hamas, along with their 2 sons. Ariel, who was just 4 at the time, and Kafir, who was just 9 months. They are the 2 youngest hostages, and they have become very much the symbol across this country of the brutality of the 7th of October attacks. So if indeed they are confirmed by Israeli forensic teams on Thursday to be among those 4 bodies, it will be an extremely painful moment for Israel. now the release of the bodies and the release of the announced release of the living hostages on Saturday is a sign that the ceasefire deal is back on track and is progressing. Israel has sent a negotiating team to Cairo to and says it is ready to start meaningful negotiations with Hamas on progressing to the second phase of the ceasefire deal.
Wow. Wow. Speechless again.
Well, I went ahead and stopped that. It had another minute or so talking more about the deal and getting ready to go into the second part of the deal. But a little bit of background on that story. The husband of the lady and father of the two children was released recently alive and had no idea what had gone on. I don't know if he knew that they had been taken hostage, but obviously had no idea. They were held separately. And I read that Hamas has said that they were killed during an Israeli bombing raid. So they're going to try to make sure that they don't look horrible, but they can't help that. They already look horrible and will continue to look horrible for everything that they do.
Yeah, for sure.
Now we were going to Doge before we got interrupted with Israel. So
I apologize. I just wanted to show that real quick.
No, it all fit together perfectly. And sometimes I've got a little list here of things this time and all that, and we both know that sometimes winging it comes out better.
That's absolutely. So we're going to Doge here to lighten the mood. The Elon Musk gave a speech last week, and I just wanted to show a small snippet of it. Pay attention to Elon Musk and what's going on around him. I missed it the first time when I watched his speech live.
Now, do you know anyone who's 150? I don't know. Okay. They should be on the Guinness Book of World Records. They're missing out.
I must have missed that the first time around. It did everybody catch that? I'll play it one more time. Just take a look out the window right behind Elon Musk.
Now, do you know anyone who's 150? I don't know. Okay. They should be on the Guinness Book of World Records. They're missing out.
Old Sleepy Joe. All right, so Doge, I found the top 5 most shocking government revelations that Doge has uncovered. Right now, the number 1, Musk reveals Iron Mountain mine nightmare. Musk revealed this week that Doge is investigating a limestone mine in Pennsylvania where federal employee retirements are processed manually. Federal employee retirements are processed using paper by hand in an old limestone mine in Pennsylvania. 700 plus mine workers operate 230 feet underground to process 10,000 applications per month, which are stored in manila envelopes and cardboard boxes. The retirement process takes a couple of months, Musk announced on X. Musk said only 10,000 federal employees can retire a month because it takes so long to process the paperwork and sort through millions of manila envelopes. He described the Iron Mountain mine as a time warp, slowing down a completely manual federal retirement process. The limiting factor is the speed in which the mine shaft elevator can move, determines how many people can retire from the federal government. An elevator breaks down sometimes, and then nobody can retire. Doesn't that sound crazy? Number 2, Doge-inspired EPA locates $20 billion in waste. The Environmental Protection Agency inspired Doge's crackdown on federal spending, said it has located $20 billion in tax dollars within the agency that the Biden administration reportedly knew they were wasting. An extremely disturbing video circulated 2 months ago featuring Biden EPA political appointee talking about how they were tossing gold bars off the Titanic rushing to get billions of your tax dollars out the door before Inauguration Day. EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin said in a video posted on X Wednesday, citing another video from December. The EPA found that 8 agencies were controlling the distribution of tens of billions of taxpayer dollars to different entities at their discretion. Excuse me. Such as the Climate United Fund, which reportedly received under $7 billion. The gold bars were tax dollars. Tossing them off the Titanic meant the Biden administration knew they were wasting it, Zeldin said, vowing to recover the gold bars that were found parked at an outside financial institution. Excuse me. Zeldin said that the scheme was the first of its kind in EPA history and that it was purposely designed to obligate the money in a rush job without reduced oversight. In a Fox News interview, the EPA administrator praised DOJ's work at the agency and said the cost-cutting department is making us better. They came up with great recommendations, and we can make a decision to act on it. The third one is DHS clawing back the Federal Emergency Management, FEMA. The government's leading disaster relief arm gave over $59 million to house illegal immigrants in luxury New York City hotels just last week. Of the 59.3 million, 19 million was for direct hotel costs, while the balance funded other services such as food and security, a New York City Hall spokesperson confirmed to Fox. One day after the spending was uncovered by DOJ, the Department of Homeland Security confirmed that Secretary Kristi Noem has clawed back the full payment that FEMA deep state activists unilaterally gave to NYC migrant hotels. FEMA spent tens of millions of dollars in Democrat areas disobeying orders, but left people of North Carolina high and dry. It is now under review and investigation, the president declared. The Biden-run FEMA has been a disaster. FEMA should be terminated. It has been slow and totally ineffective. Individual states should handle storms, etc. As they come, big savings, far more efficient, the president added. The next one is Pentagon wasted thousands on coffee cups and soap dispensers. The Pentagon's $850 billion budget could be next up on the bureaucrat chopping block. Fox News Digital report last week the accusations of waste and inefficiency within the U.S.'s largest discretionary budget. The Defense Business Board found in 2015 that the Department of Defense could save $125 billion over 5 years by renegotiating service contracts and consolidating bureaucratic processes. Congressional inquiry in 2018 found that the Air Force was spending $1,300 for each reheatable coffee cup aboard one of its aircraft. The Air Force spent $32,000 replacing 25 cups. The 2-year audit by the Defense Department Inspector General last year found that Boeing overcharged the Air Force by 8,000% for soap dispensers. They overpaid $149,072. Trump's new Defense Secretary, Pete Hegseth, says he welcomes DOJ at the Department of Defense. We will partner with them. It's long overdue. The Defense Department's got a huge budget, but it'll need to be responsible. I also read somewhere that the K-Cups, they were paying something like $25 per K-Cup. Of course, they had to be a specialty brand and all that. Questionable spending in USAID's $40 billion budget, including Sesame Street in Iraq. Senator Joni Ernst, a Republican Iowa, said the Senate DOJ caucus's chairwoman, who says she speaks to Musk about spending cuts every few days, recently published a list of projects. Said programs she says the U.S. Agency for Internal Development, USAID, has helped fund across the years. Ernst described wasteful and dangerous spending that has gripped taxpayers until DOJ stepped in. Ernst highlighted the agency's authorized a whopping $20 million to create Sesame Street in Iraq. $20 million for Sesame Street in Iraq. Under the Biden administration,
I don't have it. Hold on just a second. I don't have it, but I seen a video of what's the red character on Sesame Street? I
don't know.
Yeah, it's been, my kids are a little way past Sesame Street age, so but he's dressed, he looks Arab, and he's going back and forth talking about we don't want women to show their ankles. So yeah,
apparently
there's where much of that went.
Apparently, it's called Alan Sim Iraq. It's in an effort to promote inclusion, mutual respect, and understanding across ethnic, religious, and sectarian groups. What do they need $20 million for puppets? That makes no sense to me.
If they want to have puppets, they can pay whatever they want for them. Just leave our money out of it.
Yeah, why is it our responsibility to have Alan Sim Iraq? Now, I've got a video. I'm not going to play all of it. It talks about Elon Musk and how the left is coming unhinged and coming at him. It's pretty interesting.
These people are ridiculous. But let's check out this last clip from Mark Green.
This entire debate today and the crocodile tears from Democrats just goes to show what's wrong with this town. Not a single Democrat I've heard has expressed dismay at the many examples of crazy, wasteful spending. I don't understand the objection to a deep dive in how we spend our money, but perhaps it's the fact that over the last several weeks, a massive surge has occurred in the search for a criminal defense attorney. That probably says it all. 5 times in this city, any other city in the nation. I'd like to remind the committee that President Kennedy unilaterally created USID through an executive order in 1961. Yet the President Trump, orders a momentary pause after winning a mandate for reform, and Democrats cry, constitutional crisis. This is after 4 years of reckless spending and unrepentant lawlessness from the Biden administration. I want the American people to understand how this works in Washington. As long as you're spending other people's money, no one bats an eye. But the second you want to save taxpayer dollars, the swamp cries wolf, or in this case, unprecedented constitutional crisis. This breathless, fake outrage from the left is utterly insane. And you know what the American people, you know they can see right through it. Let me be crystal clear to those who've been complicit in this betrayal. Firing those involved is just a start. We have a long way to go. And one last point. I want to correct the record on a couple of things. First, Elon Musk and the team that is working does not have access to personal data. They don't have access to your social security number. That is a lie. Elon Musk does have a security clearance. He has a top secret security clearance. By God, he makes the rockets for NASA. But the suggestion that he somehow can't be trusted to dig into how we're spending our money is nothing but a smokescreen to hide the corruption and the wasteful spending that has occurred there. And I am personally offended at the left's continued references to 19-year-olds and 21-year-olds in there doing work. There are 19-year-olds who have won the Medal of Honor defending this country. Just because you're 19 doesn't mean you're some child who can't be trusted. It is offensive. And if you're 19 years old out there, 20 years old, and you're serving this country, by God, your service matters. Keep serving. We thank you for that. It would appear that I'm out of...
He was fired up, but he's right. There you go.
Imagine, if you will, a government so corrupt, it tries to convince the people that accountability is illegal.
Now, people are losing their minds thinking that Elon Musk is taking their personal information. This man's one of the richest men in the world. He don't care about, the 57 cents I've got in my bank account. If he wants to look at my bank account, go right ahead. I don't care. But
think about this. I didn't realize, but I found out in the last few days, just by people talking about this, he was one of the founders of PayPal.
Wow,
and,
I didn't know that.
And all of us that have used PayPal freely gave up all of that information.
Yeah.
Because you had to get a 1099 or whatever if you sold things and got the payments through PayPal. And so, and what's he going to do? He's the richest man in the world, so he's going to steal.
Yeah. I mean, that man could be living up his life with his 13 kids or whatever he's got, and he could be living it up at his own private island. But just like Donald Trump, he put all of that aside, and they're doing something to better everyone's way of life. Now, I don't mark me on this, but I've kind of got a theory here. He's also investigating into how career politicians make $150,000 a year, and their net worth is $12 million. And to me, it almost seems why the left is so livid about this is because he's going to eventually find out that some of that money could have gone to them. Now, if I'm wrong, then I apologize. But this is just my theory.
You're not wrong.
Well, I don't think I am, but I'm just kind of CYA covering my rear end. But that's completely my theory, is that he's eventually going to uncover how Nancy Pelosi, who made $175,000 in the United States government, is worth $12.5 million. How Pocahontas is worth so much.
It's obscene how much those folks are worth. And
Absolutely.
And all, the people that condemn people that make money make lots of money.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, not just lots of money. I mean, their salaries
Lots.
to us would be a lot of money. No, we're talking millions and millions of net worth. Not just 1 or 2 million, but many, many millions over. And this could probably be a segment every week. What did Doge find?
Absolutely.
Listen to Dan Bongino introduce the press secretary.
Here she is yesterday. Caroline, I only know you a little bit, but if you're listening to the show or someone sends this to you, I'm begging you as a friend to please keep doing this. Receipts matter. Receipts, actual evidence matters. Not to the media people in the briefing room, but to the third party watching. This is just fantastic. Here she is bringing receipts for everyone to see. Check this out.
As for the actual receipts, we are happy to provide them, and I actually brought some today because all of you know I love to bring the receipts. We have contracts upon contracts that we can send and provide this information to you. Let me be very clear. We are not trying to hide anything. We have been incredibly transparent, and we will continue to be. These are screenshots of contracts that Doge found across our government. This is a DEI contract, $36,000 for U.S. citizenship and immigration services. That is against the president's policies and his America First agenda. This is a $3.4 million contract, a Council for Inclusive Innovation at the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office, Department of Commerce, another DEI contract that Doge identified. I can continue to go through these. Oh, I love this one, $57,000 for climate change in Sri Lanka. What is this doing to continue the interests of the American people? Absolutely not.
Sweet Caroline, man, I love that lady. For 29 years old, she has accomplished so much, and I've got mad respect for her.
Well, we have just flown through about halfway. I wanted to do a couple things. I've got a couple of commercials. I'll play one of them, and then we'll come back with liberal Looney Tunes.
Well, I don't want to step on your stuff. If you've got stuff, we can wait until next week to the liberal Looney Tunes.
No. It's going to be part of every time we do this. So
I've talked for 50 minutes. I'm tired of talking.
Here is the commercial, and then liberal Looney Tunes.
Saving lives is a heavy weight to hold.
Sharing burdens is just what we do.
I can't thank you enough for being there for me during all this.
And you're part of a team. You're part of a family. It's what we signed up for.
Stop caring about my needs so much and started focusing on other people's needs.
God really does know what he's doing.
We're going to have to come up with a backdrop for when you get ready to start the liberal Looney Tunes. I
had one from when we we did it a long time ago, and I believe I actually deleted it. I had it wasn't as good as I wanted it to be, but I don't even know where it's at now. But so since we were talking about Doge, I believe this first video is about him. I've got 4 videos. One I'm going to have to cut short because there towards the end it drops the F-bomb. So here's liberal Looney Tunes, and away we go.
You get your musty hands off of our money, or go to Moscow. You mustard moo.
I say Trump. I don't swear in public very well, but we have to Trump. Please don't tell my children that I just did that.
Hey, I just want to correct what a couple of my colleagues said. They used that word in front of Donald Trump's name. What they meant to say, Donald Trump and Elon Musk.
Now, first off, the first guy, I don't know what a musky moo is, but the rest of these people are adults in public using that word that freely.
Too bad your mom wasn't there, because your mom will sometimes listen to someone drop the F-bomb once, possibly twice, not always twice, but it's for sure. If they drop it a third time, she's out of her chair.
And my mama knows that. My mama knows that if I do that, then I am really upset, and she's not corrected me on it yet, but I'm sure at one point she will.
All right, what's next?
Here's video number 2. This is a town hall.
I need the city to protect me because the federal government won't. And if you think you're afraid of Trump, you should see how afraid of Trump I am.
Can you wrap up, please?
Yes, I can. If you say that you're afraid of Trump and that's why you don't want the city to be a safe space for trans people, you better prepare for trans people to make this a very unsafe space.
I'm shaking right now. I don't want to be here.
Please.
I'm sorry, am I taking too long pleading for my life?
You remembered how many children I have and that 2 of them are trans.
I speak as both the B and the T in the LGBT.
I'm multiply disabled.
I'm going to stop that there because I don't remember exactly where the uncensored F-bomb is, and I don't want to play it. But yeah, that it goes on for about 6 minutes, and it's all that right there. This next one is Charlie Kirk, and he's talking what he normally does, and it's
define
Give
it.
me the facts.
Kids.
Do Muslim lives matter, Charlie?
Of course they
matter?
do.
Do they matter?
Yes, every
so
life.
Why do you support sending $3 billion in aid to Israel to fund this?
Well, I actually support more than that, but
Well,
I mean.
yes, exactly. You support this whole project. It is a part of the Christian Zionist project because you believe in Christian supremacy.
I really don't, actually. I want all people to come to Christ.
You want all people to come to Christ?
Yes.
Even my Jewish family members. You want us to come to Christ?
Yes, I hope you accept Yeshua as the Lord and Savior, because Christ is King.
Christ.
I hope you come to Jesus.
You want the Jewish community that I grew up with to come to Christ.
Yes, and if you give your life to Christ, you'll be transformed from within.
What if we don't come to Christ? What are the consequences? What do you want to happen to the Jews? Solve the Jewish question, Charlie.
I love Jews so
What's
much I
the
support
Jewish
Israel.
Question?
Which side am I
You
on?
want us all to come to Israel?
Sorry.
Guys, it was, but he made a good point. She was claiming that he was supporting Israel and against Muslims, but then was kind of chewing him for not supporting the Jews.
And she said, how many ever $1 billion? And he said, I actually support more than that.
Yeah.
Keep on rolling.
I've got one last one, and I don't know how long I'm going to play it because I cannot tolerate this woman's voice, but here we go.
Shine till revolution comes. I'm gonna let it shine. Shine till revolution comes. I'm gonna let it shine. Shine till revolution comes. I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine.
But let me stop right there and correct myself. I said woman. That is not a woman.
Well, I thought that, but I wasn't going to correct you.
Yeah,
Your mom would have corrected you.
My mom would have corrected me and then backhanded me for calling that thing a woman. Did you notice the pentagram earrings as well?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, that was quality right there.
Yeah, well.
Quality stuff right there. That's what I've got. I've got that other video of Kash Patel, but it's not a liberal Looney Tune, and it can wait. So,
well, hopefully later tonight or tomorrow, Kash Patel will be confirmed, and then watch their heads spin.
Oh my Lord, yes.
I mean, Kash Patel might make Elon Musk seem calm.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Well, when you were talking about Doge, this kind of gets swept underneath the carpet a little bit. I don't know how, but there was, now this is trillion with a T. This isn't millions or billions. This is trillions with a T. Reveals untraceable $4.7 trillion in treasury payments. Now, I think I mentioned this in the short time that I was on last night. Most computer programs that have to do with finances, they have a spot where you just click on the spot and you put it under the line item that it goes. It probably takes little to no time to do it. You probably save it so that the next time you put that in, it's already defaulted into save to the line item. And somehow 4.7 trillion, and that's over a course of years. I'm not just saying that, well, could have been in Joe Biden's tenure, but in untraceable, and I think I read separately that they can actually like manually go back and trace versus getting a computer. You know, this computer report says untraceable line items 4.7 trillion, but I mean, where does $4.7 trillion go? I mean, it's just like with Ukraine. Zelensky, who, boy, if we really wanted to get up-to-date news, Trump called Zelensky a dictator today. Yes. So, but Zelensky says all the money that's been earmarked for Ukraine has not shown up in Ukraine. So if not, where is it? And I'm not saying that somebody pocketed all $4.7 trillion of this, but did it get used for liberal purposes? Did it just get totally wasted like many of the things that we hear every single day? $4.7 trillion.
Did it pad Nancy Pelosi's pocketbook?
Well, I mean, you know, we said that, and there's got to be an explanation to what is going on with those. And, you know, if the IRS can audit people, then maybe Nancy Pelosi needs to turn the books over.
Yeah.
Next story is a sad story. Over the weekend, there was some severe flooding, and this one is making reference to Kentucky. I didn't update this from last night, so the number could be more. But Kentucky is currently grappling with the aftermath of severe flooding that has resulted in at least 12 confirmed deaths. The state, still in search and rescue phase, again, this was yesterday, is dealing with widespread damage, particularly in eastern Kentucky, where flooding has inundated residential areas. Governor Andy Beshear has actively engaged the community for support. And so our hearts and our prayers go out for our neighbors down in Kentucky. I debated on whether to mention this or not because, interestingly enough, I wonder if my opinion on this and other people in here's opinion on this is the same. SNAP, which I think isn't that like the food stamp program, isn't that what it's called now?
Yeah.
They're proposing restrictions based on ban of junk food. Now, I understand that people that get food stamps hopefully are grateful that they get that other people's money is paying for their food. And I get that it's sometimes kind of hard to swallow that people on food stamps are paying for, potato chips and pop. But I think, this is Ed personally, and people, I know that there are going to be people in here. If your mom was here, she would probably disagree with me on this.
Yeah.
But I think that is getting too restrictive to tell people what they can and they can't buy with certain money that comes in. I just think that's too far. And I know people are sitting back saying, well, they should use their own money and da 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 da.
I saw a video one time where they were kind of going over specifically for Indiana alone, and it was something like an ungodly amount of food stamp money was going for bubblegum and candy and soft drinks, and I don't know. To me, it seemed excessive.
And I'm sure it is.
Yeah.
But what happens when somebody decides pork's not good for us?
Yeah, exactly. Eggs are good for you, then they're bad, then they're good for you, then they're bad. But
yeah, I mean, I dare them to take bacon away from anybody. You want to see people get really, really, really bent out of shape, tell them they can't buy bacon.
Away, right? Yeah.
Speaking of eggs, I seen a meme today that said, remember when things were cheap enough that we would throw toilet paper and eggs on our friend's house and it was fun?
Yeah.
Oh, let's keep going. Auditing Fort Knox. Now, I have actually never seen the inside of Fort Knox or picture. Obviously, I haven't personally, but seen pictures or anything. And what I seen earlier this week was just really primitive. It's like a warehouse that's got rows of gold bars just stacked up. And but Elon Musk, this is so genius to me. He wants to live stream the audit.
I saw that.
That just, I mean, you hope that every single gold bar that's supposed to be in there is in there. And I try to be the optimist on things and think, well, it's probably all there. You can't really use the who would miss one gold bar theory, considering how much one gold bar would be worth.
Oh my Lord.
But stranger things have happened, and with everything that is being found, gold bar or two or a bunch might come up missing. I even heard one comedian say they get in there and there's one gold bar left.
Well, that's like the old joke of the guy that took a car part. Oh, it was a song, wasn't it? Johnny Cash. He worked in a car factory and he took one part until he
one
finally
piece
was
at a
able to get the
time.
car. Yeah.
One piece at a time, and it didn't cost me a dime.
Yeah. So I
I'm
can
going
see
to
that
skip
happening.
over.
Slipping a gold bar in your lunchbox every once in a while, and
I'm going to skip over the U.S. Canadian hockey issues just briefly. They being the United States versus Canada in a special tournament that they're having. The Canadians booed the United States national anthem. The American hockey players didn't take that too well. And there was actually 3 different fights break out in the first 9 seconds of the hockey match. Now, how that would work was they started the clock and it ran for 1 second, I believe, and there was a huge fight. So they got that fight all cleared out, started the clock again, and at 3 seconds, the second fight broke out. And so it's not like it was 9 straight seconds. It was a couple of seconds and then several minutes of a fight. And the third one broke out at 9 seconds. And then, by the way, the United States beat Canada 3-1.
Killed them.
And there was another hockey match. I don't know if it was the same format in this tournament, but it was in the United States, and the United States crowd was very respectful of the Canadian national anthem. I have a video that is really, really good. It's about almost 3 minutes long.
Oh no.
I want everybody just stop whatever it is you're doing and just pay attention to this video. Let me get it up and get it ready.
This story for sure, a Texas teenager sharing a deeply personal story tonight of dying, seeing Jesus, and then coming back to life.
And he is describing what he saw and heard during those minutes without oxygen.
CBS 11's Ken Molestina with an exclusive tonight.
Zach Clements is a strong teenager. He's a high school football player at Victory Life Academy in Brownwood, Texas, and obviously he's got a sense of humor. By all measures, he's a healthy young man, which is why it's still a shock.
I was running and I had collapsed.
That he dropped to the ground during PE class last week.
Not sure why.
It was a sudden cardiac arrest, according to his doctors. His mother was immediately called and even beat the ambulance to the emergency room.
When they opened the ambulance door, he was blue, and they were on top of him doing chest compressions.
Technically and medically, he was dead.
And they said that I was without a heartbeat for 20 minutes.
And just as hospital staff were ready to make it official, they got a pulse. He was airlifted to Cook Children's Hospital in Fort Worth and woke up days later. His recovery has been incredible, but even more mind-blowing is the story he tells of what he saw during the time many believed he had died.
I saw a man that had longish kind of ruffled hair with a kind of thick beard, and it didn't take me long to realize that that was Jesus.
He's describing what his family is convinced was a near-death miracle.
I went up to him and he put his hand on my shoulder and told me that everything will be all right and not to worry. I was just calm and just at peace.
The cynics out there will say, "You've seen too many movies."
And for him to wake up and tell us something that he experienced like that, it's just, I mean, you can't explain it. It's not humanly possible to explain it.
Billy Clements is the teen's father. He says accepting his son's experience as a miracle is the only thing that makes sense.
And that's what we're standing on. That was a rhema word from God that we got, and we're going to hold on to that.
Do you think this is something that might strengthen your faith?
It is. I heard angels singing in the background.
It may be a medical mystery for the doctors, but for this family, there's no question it was divine intervention.
I'm just glad he decided to let me have my baby back.
In Fort Worth, Ken Molestina, CBS 11 News.
20 minutes. Wrap your
Wow. You know, there are some things that happen in life that you just can't explain any way other than it had to be a miracle from God.
Absolutely.
20 minutes and he has no after effects. You know, that's not a brand new story. That's been around for a few years probably. But think about that young man and the testimony he has throughout the rest of his life, that he can tell people, look at what God did for me. You know, some people, I can tell about other people's miracles like that. He can tell about his own miracle that happened just that way. And so I wanted to finish out with that. I wanted to say as well, Bill and Tanya, who are in here all the time with some great friends, their little grandson, Cooper, they were trying to figure out if he had pneumonia or RSV. He for sure has RSV. Not sure if anything else in addition to that. He doesn't need anything in addition to that. But he's like the sweetest little kid in the whole world. And and we prayed for Cooper when he was born. And we still pray for him now. So lift Cooper up in prayer, folks. Father, be with Cooper as he recuperates from RSV. Be with his parents and his grandparents and the rest of his family. Heal his body in the name of Jesus. Amen. Well, last night I had, it's a very, very short, like 29-second video. I said that going out, our segment would be trying to play something, a sports figure or a sports story that shows people in their Christian faith. And so as we get ready to sign off, and boy, we skipped over so many things that we could have talked about, and we didn't get 2 days worth of but you know what? God's got a plan for all of us. He really does. And it's not what would have been or should have been or could have been. It's what is and what will be in the future. So you got anything to close us with, Ronnie?
Nope, I do not.
Well, we'll see. Tuesday will be a for sure. Yeah, the for sures are always with a little asterisk by them. I meant to say this earlier. There will not be prayer and share this week because I have been asked to preach at a community meeting, gathering, not a meeting. It's at a church. It's at the Central Heights Church of God at 3151 Sharon Lane. I'll put this out on social media. It's actually for another church that shares the building with Central Heights, but for direction purposes, it's the Central Heights Church of God. And I forget the name of the church that I'm going for. I talked with their pastor, and Jordan Sheehan, a friend of ours, goes there, and they invited me to be there. So if you'd like to come out on a day where it's not normal for me to be preaching a sermon, Friday night at 6 o'clock, 3151 Sharon Lane in Columbus. And like I said, I will put that information out on social media. So until Ronnie and I see you guys again. Now, I mentioned, I'm pointing like people can see my screen. We don't have black suits and white shirts and ties on, but the all black kind of gives the Blues Brothers impersonation, except we don't have the really cool fedora hats that they
sunglasses.
wear. Yeah, so, well, we could do the sunglasses part. That wouldn't be too hard.
We got a half a pack of cigarettes. It's dark out. We're wearing suits, and we're on red, white, and true. Hit it.
Yeah. There you go. So take care, everybody. We love you, and thank you for being with us. And until we see each other again, go out and do the right thing.